Hello friends, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Em and welcome to round 2 of TBR UNHAULATHON. So I will link the first round down below if you want to check it out, but basically we're going to spend this next week going through my little curated TBR from my LibreOfM library and seeing what I want to read and what I am no longer interested in or just is not the book for me, or maybe if it's bad, I don't know, it happens. So these are the books that I've selected for round 2. I'm gonna be honest, I am very nervous about this round because I feel like I could love every single one of these books and I don't have time to read 5 books. Especially not when the Reformatory is one of those, because that is a chunker, but this is what sounded good. So this is what I put on the list and we're gonna try it out. See how it goes. Wish me luck. I am starting with the Stanley Tucci book. I forgot what it's called. I don't have it with me. I'll put the cover on the screen, obviously. I just needed some comfort today, and Stanley Tucci's books, more importantly his audiobooks, are the ultimate comfort. They bring me so much joy. I love listening to him talk about food, and so far we're off to a great start, but I will give you more info about this a little bit later. I just wanted to get this vlog going because I can't actually start reading for a vlog until I've done the intro for a vlog. It's like my thesis statement. I need to have my thesis statement recorded before I can jump in. I don't know why, but that's what I need to do. So that's what I've done. So yeah, I hope this is entertaining as always. And let's go ahead and dive in. Putting a Stanley Tucci book on this TBR is cheating a little bit. It did definitely feel like cheating because there was no way I was not going to finish this book. So it really isn't a qualifier for TBR UNHAULATHON because I'm not going to unhaul it. I'm probably going to reread it eventually. I think Stanley Tucci's memoirs are absolutely delightful. They're definitely comfort reads. I think I enjoyed Taste a bit more. That's memoir, more of his life story and how food has always been a big part of his life, but then also a lot about his career. And I just really enjoyed it. The audiobook experience is utterly delightful. Like, I just cannot recommend that one enough, especially on audio. What I ate in 1 year and related thoughts is what it sounds like. It's a year worth of diary entries talking about what he ate that day and also what else was going on in his life throughout the course of a year, throughout the course of 2023. And I still found it really delightful, very comforting to listen to. I think he's very funny, but a very acerbic wit. So not a wit I would want to be on the other end of if he is upset or, something like that. I know a couple people like that where I think they're so funny, but my God, I would never want that wit aimed at me when they are upset because they are just the casual remarks can be so vicious. And I feel like Stanley Tucci falls into that category as well. I think this is not as fun for me as Taste. There was a lot of name dropping in here, which, I don't know really if it counts as name dropping because he's just such a famous movie actor and has been in the movie industry for so long. It just makes sense that a lot of the people he knows are also going to be fairly famous people as well. But it did get a little repetitive. I definitely found the entries about his kids or his work to be more interesting than the socializing he has done with famous people. That's a very nitpicky thing and maybe not even a valid critique because it is very much a part of his life. It didn't feel like he was bragging in any way, shape, or form. I don't know. It was just a lot of famous people. that I don't necessarily care about which famous people he knows. So like I said, I definitely found when he talks about fatherhood to be the most interesting. The times he spends with both his adult children and his young children in his second marriage. I think that was my favorite parts of this book. So yeah, I'm going to give it 4 stars. I think I gave Taste 5. I can't imagine I gave it anything less than that because I was so utterly delighted the entire time. And I actually did mark in the library book a couple of recipes that just sounded so good. And I made one of them already. It was delicious. I want to try another one. I'm sure it will be equally delicious. Everything I tried to make out of Taste was really, really good, and I imagine it would be really handy to have a copy of this on my shelf so that when I am needing to make dinner and I just feel stuck or I'm in a recipe rut, I could just like flip to a day, and most of the recipes in here are pretty straightforward, fairly easy, a lot of pasta-based dishes, and they come together real quick. So they're great busy weeknight kind of meals. I'm really glad I finally listened to it. I was definitely saving it for when I needed something happy, and it definitely fulfilled that requirement. So now I'm going to be moving in a totally different direction. I'm going to start This Will Be Fun by E.B. Asher. This is fantasy, maybe a romance. Back says, everyone in Mithria knows the story of how best friends Beatrice and Elwyn, handsome ex-bandit Claire, and valiant leader Galwell the Great defended the realm from darkness. It's a tale beloved by all except the heroes. They haven't spoken in a decade, devastated by what their quest cost them. And the blurbs on the back compare it to Princess Bride, clever fairy tale romp for grown-ups. So it's by Avon, so I'm assuming, or published by Avon, so I'm assuming there is going to be a romantic element in this. I believe it's a romance. Maybe like a dual romance, since there's two different couples on the cover. I think this one is also supposed to be funny, which would be nice. So another kind of light, not escapist book, but just, you know, one that isn't going to make me feel too many feelings that I don't want to feel. So this is up next, and I promise I will update partway through on this one. I won't wait until I finish like I did for the Stanley Tucci book. All right, I didn't make it very far into This Will Be Fun. I'm only 28 pages, but I can already tell you this is not going to be for me. As much as I love a silly, goofy time, there is a fine line into too silly and too goofy, and this is falling under that category. This is like a medieval Dungeons and Dragons style story, yet with very contemporary language, and that is not, I don't like that. That's not fun for me. So when they're using thee and thou kind of language, but then also talking about ship names for couples, that's a no for me. I'm out. So I'm sure this book is lovely, but it's just not for me. So I'll be moving on to the next one. I finally have an update for you. I'm almost halfway through By Any Other Name by Erin Cotter, and this book was not what I was anticipating just based off the cover. Over the last year, maybe year and a half, I've slowly stopped reading synopses because I feel like publishers are giving away too much in them in general. And so a lot of the times when I start a book, I have a rough idea of what I'm getting in for, but I sometimes don't actually know what I'm getting into. And this is the case with this book. This is a YA historical novel. I thought this was just going to be like a little Shakespearean Romeo and Juliet queer retelling. That's not what this is. This is set in 1593 in London, and our main character Will is an actor at Shakespeare's theater, and Will has been a boy actor up until this point, where he has been one of the actors who plays the women's roles. That is how he has made his career. He was taken from his family at a really young age, and with the intention of being sold into indentured servitude, but he escaped and now lives like by hand and foot. Is that the saying? On the streets of London. He is scraping to get by. And then the theaters are closed because the plague is back in London, and Will is frantic at trying to figure out how he is going to make enough money to pay his rent, to buy food, to have money to send back to his family. And he goes to his friend Christopher Marlowe to see if he can get a job acting on this secret theater that Marlowe has. And then Marlowe is murdered And it is uncovered that there is a plot to assassinate the queen, and Will is thrust into partnership with this young lord named James to try to solve the mystery of who murdered Marlowe and save the queen before it is too late. And I was definitely not expecting a historical, like, YA murder mystery with what I am assuming is going to be a gay romance. There's been hints, there's been breadcrumbs, nothing official, but I think that's how it's gonna go. I meant to start this much earlier. I've actually, in all honesty, full transparency, there's been a large gap of time in between these last two clips. My intention with TBR UNHAULATHON is to do this within 5 days a week at the most, in order to force myself to very quickly make decisions about whether or not I'm going to keep reading these books. And time has just gotten away from me. And also my oldest snagged this, like was looking through my books, saw this cover, and I mentioned it was YA, and then all of a sudden it was gone. And my oldest has since read this book and really liked it. And this is also out of like what my oldest prefers to pick up. So surprises all around, but I'm having a good time. I do find Will a little annoying, but I think it might be because I just haven't sat down and dedicated a lot of time to this book yet. So I'm hoping to do that today because I do have the day off. It's almost 10 o'clock in the morning. And I'm hoping to just kind of like settle down and do a really dedicated amount of reading now. Not after I do a couple chores, not after I upload a reel, like now. And see if I can get more into it. If I get more into it, I will keep reading it. If in like the next hour I'm still very passive in my reading of it, I will probably DNF it. And when I say that it's being a passive read, I'm not saying it's not good. I don't want you to think it's not good. I think it is good. I think especially for its intended age group, like my oldest had a wonderful time reading this and really enjoyed it. I just don't know if I am the target audience for this particular book, but I am willing to have my mind changed. So we're gonna sit down, do a little reading sprint, see if I can get further into this book, and if not, then it will be another DNF, which would be sad. I have finished a book and I have started a book. So I did finish By Any Other Name by Aaron Cotter. I did debate DNFing this yesterday. I primarily kept going because my oldest had read it and knew I had picked it up, and I have DNF'd a couple of books that my oldest has read and really loved, and I did not want to do that again. So I went ahead and finished it, and I'm giving it 3 stars. It's not a bad book. I just am not the right reader for this particular story. It is very action-packed. There's a lot of adventure. I would say for as long as this is, it feels like it takes a long time for anything to happen. Like, a lot happens, but nothing happens, you know? I would also say Will, our main character, is pretty insufferable. Like, the whole book. He's very selfish, very self-absorbed, very impulsive, oddly trusting of the wrong people, despite his childhood and his lived experiences. He is very trusting. And so, like, I think if we'd had a different main character, I would have liked this more, but Will was just not great. I also wish the acting had stayed more prevalent. It's a big part of the beginning because that's Will's job, but then obviously with the plague and the theaters closing, which also the plague was not like the theaters are closed, but that's all that's referenced. Like, you never see that impacted in Elizabeth's court. Also, Queen Elizabeth is the biggest bitch in this book. I hated her so much. This is a very much like eat the rich down with the billionaire class, down in the millionaire class in a Shakespearean setting, which I did dig that message 100%. That was great. But it was just, it could be so frustrating to read sometimes. And then, yeah, so the plague stuff never came up, except that's why the theaters were closed. And then once the murder mystery came into the picture, yeah, I don't know. I believe this is this author's debut because there's no other books listed in it. So I think if she writes other things, if she has written other things, that could be cool. This was published in 2023, so I have had it sitting in my library for a bit, and I'm glad I finished it, and it was fun to talk to my oldest about it this morning. And then yesterday, when I needed a break from this, I started Extremely Online by Taylor Lorenz, and I'm a little bit farther than my bookmark shows because I was listening to the audiobook while I was running errands just now. Also, look at my bookmark. How freaking adorable is it? This is from Humdrum Paper. I'm obsessed with all their bookmarks. They're so cute. Anyways, so I'm a little past the 100-page mark, and this is about the beginning of social media, and so like the history of social media and also the history of fame on social media. It is so interesting. It's so cool. I've listened to an interview with Taylor Lorenz on a podcast, so I had this on my radar and I knew I wanted to read it eventually. And it's so fun. So the introduction was just about fame on the internet, like how blogging got started in the early days of blogging, and then she went on to talk about mommy bloggers, and then we went on to talk about MySpace, and then YouTube, which, did you know YouTube started as a dating app? I didn't know that. I had no idea. Like it's an accident that YouTube became what it is now, which I find fascinating. And now I'm in the Twitter chapter. So we're in like 2006 to 2009 is the time period I'm in right now. Anyways, really interesting. I wasn't super online at that time because I didn't even, when did iPhones come out? 2005, 2006? And I didn't get an iPhone until 2014, I think. So I was not online in the same way. Like I used MySpace, I used Facebook, but I wasn't on Twitter. I would watch on YouTube in college, but I wasn't putting anything up on YouTube in college. So it's really interesting because I have like a really generalized base knowledge of these social media platforms, but not a vast knowledge. So this is cool to be getting a lot more in-depth information about the founding of these social media companies. And then I have no idea who most of these people are that she's talking about, like that went famous. Obviously I recognized Grumpy Cat, but that's kind of been it. So it's always such a fun, I don't know, like social media literacy test when I read books like this to see how much I absorbed. But then I'm also kind of glad that I wasn't online that enough or paying attention enough to know who all these people are, or that my interests at that time, because I was, in college and then post-college at the time, so like before marriage and babies. And so it's just really interesting to like, I don't know, hear about all the stuff that was going on in almost like a parallel universe, because my awareness was just not on these things. So I'm gonna keep listening to this. I do have one class to teach today, but it's not until noon, and it's 9:30. I just dropped the youngest off at school, and I went and ran some errands. I have some stuff I really want to get done this morning before I have to go teach. So the plan is to put on my headphones, lock in with this audiobook. Libra says I have like 3 hours left if I keep listening at 2 times speed. So I'm really optimistic I can finish this today. I need to redo the kids' bathroom. I mean, not redo, but they've had the same like world map transparent shower curtain for like 4 or 5 years. And everybody is so much older now and wants more privacy. So I got a new liner, a new shower curtain, a new like shower caddy. Was that it? Yeah, so I'm gonna go switch their bathroom around. I am going to go clean part of my youngest's room. So the kids are all obviously responsible for taking care of their own spaces, but every once in a while, my youngest's room just gets to the point where they cannot clean it on their own anymore. It's just too overwhelming, and honestly, we need to get rid of some stuff, and my pack rat child refuses to get rid of things, even if they haven't used them in years. And we have a whole toy box at the foot of their bed with all their superhero action figures and like toys, and they don't play that way anymore. So I'm gonna go clear that out and clean up that kind of corner, because if I can get that corner cleaned out, then this weekend I can tackle their closet, which has been like a dumping ground for everything. Like my youngest has half the closet, and then the other half is like Christmas wrapping paper and just storage that their dad and I use, and I need to get it under control because it's a disaster. So that is the plan for today, and I hopefully will be coming back with having finished this shortly. I mean, not shortly for me, shortly for you though. Again. All right, I did finish Extremely Online last night. I'm giving it 5 stars. Maybe not like my favorite nonfiction that I've read of the year, but I think a really like fantastic deep dive and history of social media and fame on social media. And it goes all the way up to 2022. So it does talk about TikTok quite a bit, which I had no idea about, like TikTok's evolution. So that was pretty cool. And yeah, I just think overall, this is really great. If you are also really interested in the internet and how the internet affects culture and just humanity in general, I would highly recommend this because it's really interesting and like something we obviously need to pay attention to because the internet's not going anywhere, social media is not going anywhere, and especially with like AI really ramping up, I think this is like really valuable information to have. And then I was very brave and I started The Reformatory by tanananrive this morning. I am so intimidated by this book. First of all, it's over 500 pages, which like long horror is not my thing. I like quick, punchy, visceral horror. I don't like long, drawn out horror, but I've heard only good things about tanananrive, and I have this audiobook, so I need to try it. I need to try her. It's either this or her short story collection because I got the audiobook for that before I realized I wasn't really a short story person, so now I need to kind of force myself to be a short story person. But this is set in the 1950s in Florida, and it's inspired by the Dozier School for Boys, which was horrific in so many ways. If you've read The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead, the same school that story is based on, I read The Nickel Boys and it's a 5-star book for me. I enjoyed is not the right word, but it's really, really good. But that book is like 200 pages, not over 500. So I did appreciate that the plot started right away. Like we didn't have any buildup, the book started, and the inciting incident happened really quickly. But Robert is 12 years old, and he and his sister Gloria are living on their own. Gloria is 16. Their mother has died from cancer, and their father has been run out of town for trying to unionize black workers at a factory. And Robert kicks a white man and is sentenced to 6 months at this school for boys. And that's all that's happened so far. He has gotten sentenced. He's gotten to the school. I know there are ghosts in here. Like this is a ghost story. And Robert has already, there's already rumors that there are haints at this school. I can't remember what the school is actually called. I just remember that it is, that it's based on the Dozier School for Boys. Is that actually correct? Am I getting all my words correctly? All my words correct. Anyways, I'm a little sick to my stomach. Yeah, Dozier School for Boys. I'm a little sick to my stomach reading this, to be honest. Less so because of the ghost situation and more because of the horrific nature of American history. And I'm really worried for Robert. I'm really worried for Gloria. So this is definitely a book where I am not looking forward to picking it up, but I think the narrator for this book is also the person that narrates the Legendborn series, I think. Yes, so she narrates the Legendborn series. I've also listened to her read Lone Women. Have I listened to any other books that she's read? Oh, she reads on Blackout, which is like interconnected short stories. I really like that anthology, actually. Shocker. There's something I like. That's short story collection. Vampires Never Get Old. It's another short story collection. I don't know if I listened to that one on audio. I think I might have just read that one with my eyeballs. Maybe it's not that I don't like short stories. Maybe I just don't like short story collections when it's all one author, but when it's an anthology and the voice changes, that I like. Maybe that's the key difference. She's narrated a ton of books, and I've listened to not a lot because she's narrated a lot, but I've listened to some of what she's narrated, and I really like her, so that helps me getting past my trepidation at picking up this book. But again, I've only heard good reviews, so I'm sure it will be fantastic. Maybe not like a fun horror read, but I think it'll be a good book. So I'm at part 2, 50 pages in. I am going to pause this video one more time because I'm going to do a 48-hour readathon for Halloween because Halloween is tomorrow. So you'll have seen that video already. That one's going to go up first, so I will link it down below in case you missed it. But I will be back in a couple of days with more thoughts and more progress in the reformatory. And then this is our last book, so once I finish this, I can't imagine I'm going to DNF it. Yeah, so yeah. I'm waiting to get my youngest from school, but I wanted to come do a really quick update. I'm like 30% into this book, almost to page 200. I just got to part 4, and it's really good. It's just, as you can imagine, really heavy. And so I'm reading it slowly because I frequently need to take breaks because the white people are the worst. And the Black people who have bought into the white supremacy and perpetuate the racism and the harm, even though they don't benefit from it, are also the worst. It's just the worst across the board. But, I mean, the circumstances are. Not the writing. The writing is wonderful. I totally get the hype about tanananrive, and I am glad I am reading this. It's just really heavy, so I'm taking my time, which means that this episode is not as quick. Like I said earlier, I like to do these in like 5 days to a week, and it's been, I think we're going on week 3. So not my best showing, but I'm glad I'm reading it. Y'all, I swear this book aged me.
Are you going to? Okay, sounds good.
Y'all, I swear this book aged me 5 years. I feel like I need a snack, I need a nap, I need a hug, and to read something irrepressibly happy after finishing this book. But I'm so happy I have finally read The Reformatory. I gave you a really brief overview when I first started it, but honestly, that was like 2.5 weeks ago. I read this so slow. And I mentioned earlier that defeats the purpose of a TBR UNHAULATHON. However, there's no other way to read this book. You cannot binge read this book. I mean, maybe you can. I could not binge read this book. I had to go slow. I had to take my time. I had to take breaks. And I feel like if you binge read this quickly, I feel like the horror of what is happening to these 2 kids is going to be lessened in some way. It's going to be diminished. I feel like this is a book that deserves to be taken slowly, or at least moderately paced and not a total binge read. So we're following Gloria and Robert. When we are in Gloria's point of view, she is trying to use the system to get her brother out of this jail, basically, for children. And her full realization of how broken the system is and how much everything is stacked against Black people in this small southern town, and just in the South in general, in the world. And the hate, the prejudice, the cruelty that they are treated with only because of their skin color. And then when you're with Robbie, he is just trying to survive being put into this real life horror. So this is definitely a book where I would say the horror, even though there is a supernatural element, the horror is not the supernatural element. The horror is humans and what humans will do to each other, and the injustice that Black people have experienced throughout the entirety of the history of the United States. So it's infuriating to read, and it's heavy, and it's hard, and it's true. Like, Tananarive is not making up things in this book. She is not making up the real world atrocities. And so I think that's the part that makes it hard to read. And again, I mentioned this earlier, but I don't think I'm a slow, big horror book person. It's why I have not picked up Our Share of Night by, I forgot the author's name, but this book. It's why I haven't picked this book up, because it's long. And I have a feeling, and if you've read this and if I'm wrong, you can let me know, but I have a feeling the horror in this book is also real life horror. And maybe there's supernatural or speculative elements, but I bet that's not the scariest part of this book. Same thing with this. The Haints, not the scariest part of this book. But obviously it's a 5-star. I mean, not enjoyment wise, but just craft, execution, it's a 5-star. And even though it is a long book, it all feels necessary. There wasn't a part where I like, no, we could have cut this out, or no, I didn't need this. It's all there for a purpose. There is no superfluousness to this book. It's everything needs to be there. The creeping dread that happens throughout this book and just ever so slowly builds in intensity, especially towards the end. When I got to an hour and a half left in the audiobook was when I was like, okay, I can't stop listening. Like once I start this next section, I'm in it until I finish the book, because I just knew there was going to be too much happening. There's going to be too much at stake. There's going to be too much tension to have to put that book down until I had reached the end of the book. And I was 100% right. I'm definitely going to read more Tananarive. I think this is an incredible book. It is very much deserving of all the awards and all the praise that it has gotten since being published. And while I don't know that I necessarily enjoyed my time reading it, I very much appreciate my time reading it. And I'm really glad TBR UNHAULATHON pushed me to pick this up, even if it took me 2.5 weeks to read it. But that's okay. So now that I have finally finished the reformatory, we are going to wrap up this round of TBR UNHAULATHON. I read 4 books, DNF'd 1, not too shabby, and I'm excited to do this again. My hope is to do one every month. Obviously, I got a little behind because this was supposed to be October's round and it's coming out in November. So I will see what that means for November, because there is a pretty chunky book that would be in November's list, and I have to figure out what my plan is with this. But anyways, I would love to hear your thoughts down below if you are liking this series, your thoughts on if it should be monthly, bi-monthly, I don't know. Let me know what you think. If you would like to just leave an emoji to let me know you made it to the end of the video. Let's leave some sort of food emoji, since What I Ate in a Year is definitely my favorite book from this round. So yeah, leave me a food emoji, and otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Bye!